In their hearts, everyone thinks they know a lot about the Old West. We've seen every John Wayne Western, watched Deadwood all at once on HBO, and had a few history classes in college. What else do you need to know? A lot of America's most romanticized and praised past is still a mystery. So relax on the porch with a whiskey and let us tell you the story. The Old West was really like this. Wild camels once roamed the frontier. $30,000. That's how much 75 camels from the Middle East and the Mediterranean cost when the U.S. Army brought them in 1857. The idea of a transcontinental train was still a long way off, so people thought that camels would help them move west across the wild, untamed land. At first, camels were only used to move supplies short distances in Texas, but Washington finally told Edward Fitzgerald Beale to take a dozen camels all the way to California. With the camels' help, these animals were used to going on long trips with little food and water. Beale did what many people thought was impossible. He made it to just north of Los Angeles after walking more than 200 miles. In fact, it seemed like camels were the way of the present, while railroad travel was the way of the future. Major Henry Wayne, who was appointed by Jefferson Davis, said, "Americans will be able to manage camels not only as well as Arabs, but better than Arabs, because they will do it with more humanity and far greater intelligence." I mean, even a Confederate would find that cold. There really was a camel craze in the United States, but Congress didn't want to buy more camels. They put a stop to the growing camel movement, along with the mule group, which was a thing, until the Civil War ended it for good. When Texas left the Union, it became part of the Confederacy. The rebels thought that letting these government-bought camels graze was the best thing to do with them. Smithsonian says that some camels were caught and sold. Some were used by the Confederate Post Office, and one is said to have been pushed off a cliff. Some were well known, like Old Douglas of the 43rd Mississippi Infantry, who tragically died in battle during the siege of Vicksburg. There are many interesting camel stories in the western past of the United States, but not many people seem to know about them. The wild camels that walked the range may have been the most interesting thing about it. The 10 or so lucky people who were lucky enough to see one after the Civil War were pleasantly surprised. And without a doubt, the most interesting of these is the Red Ghost, a monster that lived in the Arizona desert, killed a woman by stepping on her, could vanish into thin air, and had human parts stuck to its body. This is too real to be true. An important civil war erupted in New Mexico. There was another battle called Glorieta Pass that not many people know about, most likely not. Glorieta Pass, also called the Gettysburg of the West, was one of the few important Civil War fights set in the Old West. There were only 2,500 soldiers in the fight, but it was very important in the Wild West because the winner got a huge area of mineral-rich land. Additionally, according to the National Park Service, taking over New Mexico meant getting to the mines in Colorado, allowing slavery to spread to California's 200 miles of shore and free port cities, and being able to invade Mexico through Arizona. As the fight was coming to a close and both sides were getting tired, it looked like Confederate Texas would win. However, the New Mexico volunteers were smart and climbed down the Glorieta Mesa cliff face, surprising the Confederates below who were not well protected. They then destroyed the entire supply train at Johnson's Ranch, dealing a huge blow to the invasion army. The Confederates went back to Texas, and for the rest of the war, the Union kept control of the area. If you have an ignorant uncle who thinks he knows a lot about the Civil War, tell him this story. It will blow his mind. Elmer McCurdy's Wild Ride. People say that bad people can't rest, and the strange case of Elmer McCurdy shows that this is true. The notorious ELM was born in 1880 and didn't have a lot going for him. It was common for kids at the time, like McCurdy, to not have a parent. This meant that he didn't have many chances in life. Truly, he only lived to be 31 years old, having a life of drinking, getting tuberculosis from working in a lead mine, drinking, and botched bank crimes. Snap Judgment on National Public Radio says that McCurdy once blew up a whole bank, leaving only the safe standing, unscratched and unharmed. That sounds like how the Three Stooges would rob a bank. His lack of skill as a thief led to his downfall. He robbed the wrong train because he thought it had $400,000 on board when it actually had $46 and 2 jugs of whiskey. What could make a bad day worse? Well, this botched theft ultimately led to him hiding in a barn until the police shot him in the chest. That's how it works. But what's stranger than this bad luck criminal's life is his future. He never had a proper funeral because no one cared about him at all. Instead, the funeral director put arsenic and embalming fluid all over his body, making him look like a nice ghost from the Wild West. An NPR report says the funeral director was so proud of his work that he charged people to come see it. He even put the fee right into the mouth of the poor dead man. Then one day, a guy came up to McCurdy claiming to be his brother. He took the mummified body and made it the main attraction at his West Texas carnival, and no one knew what was going on. The mummy of McCurdy changed hands several times and became more popular with each show until he was almost as well known as Billy the Kid. His fame eventually faded, and his body was forgotten, painted with glow-in-the-dark spray paint, and hung from a noose in the haunted Long Beach amusement park ride Laugh in the Dark. That is, until a camera crew filming The $6 Million Man in 1976 accidentally ripped off what they thought was a mannequin's arm, revealing human bone. Where is McCurdy now? At the spot where he died, in Guthrie, Oklahoma, he is at peace under 6 feet of concrete. Gambling was a full-time job. The most common way to think about gambling is as a hobby, a way to pass the time, or an addiction. But in the Old West, gaming was more than that. An awful lot of people who went into the wilder areas made a living by gaming. In the magazine with the same name, Wild West, R.K. D'Armont said that anyone crazy enough to go west in search of a new life was a natural gambler, and in many cases, they were playing with their lives. Were you putting everything on a California land claim to look for gold, or working full-time as a card shark? The West was all about taking chances. D'Armont says, in the early West, gambling was considered a profession, as legitimate a calling as the clergy, the law, or medicine. As towns in the West grew, more and more places to gamble opened up. According to D'Armont, Denver, Kansas City, Omaha, Tucson, Hot Springs, Ark, and the Texas cities of Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Dallas were recognized as wide open for gambling of all sorts, from cheating 3-card Monte scams to high-stakes poker and faro games in elaborate casinos. California was basically heaven for professional gamblers, and a lot of them made a great living by giving prospectors and gold buyers their shiny new things. In Klondike, too, famous players like Square Sam Bonifield and Louis Goldie Golden beat Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu. If you want to use your time machine to win money from gold prospectors, be aware that many of the best players were also known for cheating. That, or they would shoot you if they lost. You should only play internet poker from now on. Once, Nevada had red-haired cannibals. Did you know that in the past, big ginger people lived in Nevada and scared their Native American neighbors by eating their flesh? It's real, almost. Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins, a Northern Paiute author, activist, and teacher, says that her people told stories about the Siteka, a red-haired group that ate each other. According to stories told by elders, the Siteka, whose name means water plant eaters, fought the Northern Paiute and beat the cannibals. With help from nearby tribes, the Paiute were able to trap all of the remaining Siteka in a cave. They then set fire to the door to the cave to wipe out the red-haired tribe for good. In her book, Life Among the Paiutes, Their Wrongs and Claims, Winnemucca says, "My people say that the tribe we exterminated had reddish hair. I have a dress which has been in our family a great many years, trimmed with the reddish hair. It is called a mourning dress, and no one has such a dress but my family." She also says that after her group killed the Siteka, they were called both conquerors and enemies. But she doesn't say that people today think they were giants. Relatedly, Adrienne Mayer, a classical folklorist, doesn't believe that Siteka was very tall. In her book Fossil Legends of the First Americans, she says that the cannibalistic tribe was probably about average height, and that some enterprising people made them look like giants. by mistakenly thinking that the bones of mammoths or giant cave bears were human remains. The Sea-to-Ka may have been tall compared to people in Europe, but they probably weren't huge. People with red hair who fight each other as cannibals make the Wild West live up to its name. It also makes us wonder why Hollywood hasn't already made 50 movies about them. The ghost town of Bodie curses thieves. Bodie is one of the most real ghost towns in America. It is east of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It's a famous spot for tourists and people who like the Old West. Just don't steal anything from there. Bodie is different from other ghost towns because people really think it's cursed. Several stories and accounts say that stealing things from Bodie has terrible, long-lasting effects. It also doesn't matter what you steal. It seems that if you take anything, from a sharp nail to a hot water heater, you'll have bad luck for the rest of your life. And the people who have it say it's a very bad luck, like death, major injury, or, worst of all, heartbreak. Many people who have stolen souvenirs from the town have sent them back to the park officials, often by mail, because of the curse. The Observer reporter once printed parts of letters that came with the returns. One from Germany said, "We saw that nail on the ground and had the feeling we have to take it with us. Now, after these years of bad luck, we decided to send the nail back to the ghost town, in hope our luck comes back." According to the Lodi News Sentinel, a woman even gave back the nail that punctured her tire while she was driving through town. The ghosts of Bodie might just like nails. Not sure if the Bodie curse is real? You could go to the empty town, steal a nail, and see for yourself? Tell us what happens. There are loads of missing mines. A lot of people moved to the Old West to find fame and money, and some were even lucky enough to find both. You haven't missed your chance to get rich on the western border, though, so don't worry. There are still a lot of mines that haven't been found. It's possible that the Lost Dutchman's gold mine is the most well-known. It's thought to be somewhere in the Superstition Mountains, which are east of Phoenix, Arizona. Many people have tried to find Jacob Waltz's gold mine from the 1800s, but they have not been able to find it. Some people have even died while they were looking. You might be interested in less famous lost mines. If so, you can always look for the Wheelbarrow Mine in Idaho. In simple words, turn left at Albuquerque and head north for a long way. You can also look for the Lost Blue Bucket Mine in Oregon or Adams Diggings, a gold-filled canyon in New Mexico. Find Janney's Chimney in Northport, Washington, if you want to dig for a really deep cut. It's said to have deep lines of high-grade galena. As soon as you find something valuable, remember which site led you to it, and please share your wealth with us. We hope you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're a history addict, and please let us know about what civilization or time period we should talk about. Also, watch another video here.